Greetings, welcome to Facts About Everything. I'm your host, James Egan. Even people who've never seen these movies or know the name of the recurring villain, Jason Voorhees, everyone knows there is a hockey mask wearing serial killer. However, he's not the killer in the first movie. The killer in this movie is Jason Voorhees' mother, Pamela, played by Betsy Palmer.
Drown. You never paid any attention. Look what you did to him.
Betsy Palmer only agreed to be in this movie because she needed money for a new car. And that is the first fact about the Friday the 13th series. Let's dive in. Betsy Palmer was a very respected actress, so it was odd for her to appear in a slasher movie. One critic was so upset with this fact that he published her address in a magazine and demanded that people write angry letters to her. He published the wrong address. For those not familiar with the story, a group of camp counselors are trying to reopen a summer camp called Crystal Lake. It was shut down years before after a young, mentally handicapped, physically disabled boy called Jason drowned. The counselors start dying one by one, and you're supposed to assume that this child somehow came back to life and is slaughtering them all for not saving him. But it turns out it was his mother, who said they didn't save him because they were busy having sex. This started the very popular trope in horror movies, where if you have sex, you are destined to die and only the virgin can survive. This was Betsy's first film in 21 years. It's funny how she did this movie just to make a little bit of extra cash, and she accidentally set off a franchise that's lasted nearly 40 years. The series is set in Crystal Lake. Betsy Palmer spent many summers here when she was young. The killer's weapon of choice is a Sabre Monarch 171 Bowie knife. The original title was Long Night at Camp Blood. Jason Voorhees drowned in the lake in 1957 as a child. Coincidentally, this is the same year that the killer, Michael Myers, was born in the film Halloween. The famous theme song goes... This is meant to be Jason Voorhees saying, "Kill, kill, kill, mom, mom, mom," which means that he's basically telling the twist of the movie. The final jump scare was thought of at the last minute. It is often considered to be one of the best jump scares in movie history. If this final scene didn't exist, the film probably would have spawned almost a dozen sequels. The makeup artist and special effects artist was Tom Savini. He would often go to cinemas and watch the last 5 minutes to see how audiences reacted to the ending. This is one of the first movies Kevin Bacon ever worked on. He was only 22 at the time. Everyone knows how horror movies works. The first one's brilliant and takes the world by storm, so they start milking it for as much as possible and make lots and lots of terrible sequels. But it doesn't apply to Friday the 13th because the first one wasn't very good. According to critics, none of these movies are good. It's never been good. And yet it has more sequels than any other mainstream horror series. According to IMDb, the first one only has a rating of 6.5, which isn't even average. It has a Metascore from 5 critics of 19. Gene Siskel gave it a score of 0, and the highest score it received was 50%. A TV series was released in 1987 called Friday the 13th. It had no connection whatsoever to the Friday the 13th movie series, which confused a lot of people watching the show expecting Jason Voorhees to appear. To avoid confusion, the TV show was called Friday's Curse in some countries. Jason Voorhees' birthday is... Friday the 13th. Weirdly, Pamela Voorhees isn't even in this film until about 2 minutes before she's revealed to be the killer, which is kind of ridiculous, because if she's not in the movie, you can't guess it right that she's the murderer. In 1907, a book called Friday the 13th was published. This novel inspired the idea that Friday the 13th is somehow cursed. As a result, the American economy loses $900 million on that day because workers will call in sick, worried that something bad will happen if they venture outside. Even the stock market noticeably suffers and drops by 0.2% on this day. Since there were 3 Friday the 13th in 2015, the American economy lost approximately $2.7 billion in 3 days because of a book. The tagline is, they were warned, they are doomed, and on Friday the 13th, nothing will save them. Friday the 13th Part 2 came out in 1981. This is the first movie where Jason Voorhees is the killer. Adrienne King plays Alice in the first 2 films in the series. She stopped acting for 29 years because she had a stalker during the shooting of this film and it traumatized her. Jason kills Jeff and Sandra while they're having sex. The girl isn't shown to be naked because she was underage at the time. Mrs. Voorhees' decapitated head was supposed to blink in the very last shot. shot. This was changed because the director thought it wouldn't match the tone of the movie. The tagline is, "The body count continues." Friday the 13th 3D came out in 1982. This was the first film where Jason wears a hockey mask. He has worn it in every film in the series since. The film poster depicts Jason killing someone through a shower curtain. This never happens in the film. The tagline was, "A new dimension in terror." The code name for the film was Crystal Japan. This film doesn't take place on Friday the 13th. It takes place on Saturday the 14th, which is weird because this is the first film in the series to be released on Friday the 13th. At this point, I can easily joke and say, oh wow, a movie about a killer zombie isn't realistic, but weirdly, Jason gets slashed with an axe in his scalp. This leaves a crack on his hockey mask. This crack is in nearly every other film in the series to match continuity. Friday the 13th, the final chapter, which I think is the 7th last movie, came out in 1984. Crispin Glover's character, Jimbo, does I want to call it a dance in the party scene. This dance has become iconic for Friday the 13th fans because, well, you know. The tagline is, "3 times before you have felt the terror, known the madness, lived the horror, but it is this one you've been screaming for." Corey Feldman's character Tommy wears an alien mask at one point. He only wore this so the advertisers could put it in the trailer and the back of the video box to make the movie seem more interesting. Jason was supposed to be decapitated in the ending. This was changed at the last minute in case the studio wanted to bring Jason back in a sequel, even though the film's title is The Final Chapter. Ted White plays Jason. He said he hated Corey Feldman so much that he wanted to kill him. Despite the fact that this film was supposed to be the last in the series, a sequel was released less than 1 year later. Jason is officially killed with a butcher knife to the face. The film was supposed to conclude with Tommy becoming the new serial killer. Friday the 13th, A New Beginning came out in 1985. Corey Feldman was supposed to play the lead, but he was busy shooting The Goonies. Good move. The tagline was, "If Jason still haunts you, you're not alone." This is the first film where Jason Voorhees is referred to by his full name. The code name for this movie was Repetition. Jason isn't in this movie. The killer is just an orderly or something? This movie's terrible. The ending implies that Tommy will become a killer like Jason. The previous film implies the same thing. This never happens. Stop doing that, guys. Nobody cares. Everyone just wants to see Jason. Speaking of which, Jason Lives, Friday the 13th Part 6 came out in 1986. In the previous film, Tommy was a mute. In this film, he can speak without explanation. This is the only film in the series to have no nudity. What are we even paying you guys for? Jason is resurrected with a bolt of lightning. Because... science. The fake title was Aladdin Sane. Another actor was cast as Jason, but he was fired for being too fat. Ego boost. The tagline is, "Kill or be killed." Jason was played by C.J. Graham, who served in the Marine Corps for 4 years. His experience makes him portray Jason as an unstoppable Terminator-like killer, which is what the director wanted. This is the only time in cinematic history that a recurring lead character is played by 3 actors in 3 consecutive films in 3 consecutive years. Jason dies when his neck is slashed open with a motorboat engine. The scene where Jason is drowning was done in the director's parents' swimming pool. Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood, came out in 1988. Kerry Noonan auditioned for a part, not knowing it was for a Friday the 13th film. In a script she read, the title was Birthday Bash and the killer was called Ethan. Nevertheless, she asked the producers, "Hey, is this Friday the 13th? I was already in one of these." The tagline is, "On Friday the 13th, Jason is back, but this time, someone's waiting." Jason is resurrected through telekinesis. This is the first film where Jason is played by the legendary Kane Hodder. He is considered by many fans to be the best and definitive actor to portray Jason. He portrayed Jason in 4 films. This one, Friday the 13th 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, Jason Goes to Hell the Final Friday, and Jason X. Jason kills somebody by picking them up while they're in a sleeping bag and smashing it into a tree. This is considered by many people to be the funniest death in the series. Funny death. Those are 2 words that should never be together. Although the sleeping bag death looks hilarious, Hodder found it difficult because the bag was so heavy. Hodder did all his own stunts, including falling through a stairway and having a roof collapse on him. How did Kate Hodder get the part? In the audition, he ate worms that were alive. In the original script, Jason was supposed to fight Carrie from Stephen King's story of the same name. Hodder nearly died when he fell through the stairs. In the scene, only a certain amount of steps were supposed to fall apart. Hodder's head narrowly missed one of the steps that he passed through. In one scene, Kate Hodder was set on fire for 40 seconds. Most stuntmen who are set on fire are only ablaze for about 10 seconds. Jason dies in this movie. I don't even know how he dies in this movie. He is drowned by the main girl's father, but he died like 10 years ago, so I don't know. Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, came out in 1989. This was the first Friday the 13th movie I ever saw. Since I had nothing to compare it to, I thought it was really good. The tagline is, New York has a new problem. Jason is resurrected when his body comes into contact with an electric cable. While the film crew was shooting the Manhattan scenes, a massive crowd started hanging around the set. During this time, Kane Hodder never took off his hockey mask, nor did he ever speak, because he didn't want the spectators to see Jason as just some actor wearing a mask. This This film takes place in 2002 for some reason. To promote the film, Kane Hodder did an interview on the Arsenio Hall show as his character, Jason Voorhees. He never speaks throughout the entire interview. He simply stares at the host for 5 minutes. When Jason vomits at the end of the film, it wasn't a special effect. Hodder actually made himself vomit. The Manhattan scenes were shot in Vancouver. The film's fake title was Ashes to Ashes. This is the longest film in the series, running 100 minutes. Sometimes Hodder got bored and would do a disco dance in full makeup and costume. There was supposed to be a scene where Jason kicks a dog, but it was cut. In the words of Kane Hodder, come on, Jason isn't that evil. At the film's climax, Jason is melted by toxic waste. Jason Goes to Hell, The Final Friday, came out in 1993. It is never explained how Jason was resurrected. This movie is very different from all the other ones. Jason dies at the very beginning by being blown off, but his spirit starts possessing people who then kill on his behalf. The tagline is, evil has finally found a home. Kane Hodder plays a security guard as well as Jason Voorhees. The original title was The Dark Heart of Jason Voorhees. Okay, this is supposed to be the final movie again. So how does he die? Jason is killed when he's stabbed with a demonic dagger. This releases all of the souls he has taken over the years, and he is dragged to hell by demons. Freddy Krueger's arm appears at the end. This arm belonged to Kane Hodder. Jason X came out in 2001. It is better known as that one where Jason goes to space. Jason murders 28 people, which is more than any other film. The tagline is, evil gets an upgrade. The sleeping bag scene is an obvious homage to Friday the 13th Part 7. When Jason smashes Dallas into a wall, Hodder actually broke the stuntman's nose. The spaceship is called the Grendel. This is the name of the monster in the Old English poem Beowulf. In this story, Grendel lives under a lake, just like Jason. That is the most artistic decision made in this entire series. The director, David Cronenberg, cameos in the film because he wanted to die in a movie. Jason dies when he is blown up. However, the nanotechnology on the spaceship revitalizes him as Uber Jason. This has the lowest rating of any Friday the 13th movie on IMDb. Jason dies after he burns up in Earth's atmosphere. Jason never blinks. The series was rebooted in 2009. Including this film, Jason has killed 167 people, although according to Jason X, he has killed over 200 people. The tagline is, welcome to Crystal Lake. And finally, film director Michael Bay walked out of the 2009 film Friday the 13th because it had too much sex. I know what you're thinking, I missed Freddy vs. Jason. Don't worry, I'll be doing a video very soon about the Nightmare on Elm Street series, and I'll include it in that video. Be sure to subscribe to Facts About Everything. Follow me on Twitter for updates on upcoming videos. Check out my Facebook page to let me know what subjects you want me to talk about in the future. Thanks for watching, see you again.